Preferred selection here with some D&D content video advice for my fellow DMs. If you're running a virtual game on Roll20 or a similar tabletop simulator, I'm in Roll20, this is 5th edition, but this advice, Starfinder, Pathfinder, 3.5, whatever you're running, the principle should apply. I've got some stuff for you that I think is legitimately going to save hours off of your prep time, especially if you are the type that has been making a lot of NPC monster character sheets. Or, and you might not think of yourself as that, but if you're plugging in a character sheet for every zombie and skeleton and rat and bat that you fight, let me enlighten you a little bit, or show you, after 5 years of running online and 12 years of running D&D total, I've come to a spot that I think is maybe a little bit of a revelation for me. Maybe other people are already doing this, but I'm going to share what I have learned. So if you're starting out, maybe you're making a character sheet that looks like this, where you've got your saves and your attacks and your blah, blah, blah. And it's very handy. I don't want to dismiss it. If you're doing this, it can be a very good organizational tool, a good way to remember everything that a monster can do. But it takes about maybe a half hour or an hour to put something like this together. And if your party comes along and they see your cool monster and they go, I'm going to talk to it and befriend it. Or, oh, we're just going to run away. That looks really scary, we're going to run. Or they go, oh, you know what? I just learned Disintegrate. I want to cast Disintegrate. Now this monster that you spent 45 minutes on, plugging in just their stats, not 45 minutes coming up with, but just plugging it in, their +9 to athletics and their whatever, it's gone. It's all dead. And you're wondering if you could have spent your time preparing for your session better, because that time could have been spent coming up with what's the motive of my patron for my warlock or something like that. We're not going to be getting into that, but we're going to be getting into how to buy you that time. The reason why this character sheet exists, by the way, is because this is something one of my players can polymorph into. So it is something that I wanted to be presentable and useful to my players. It's no longer just for me if it's something they can polymorph into. So that's why that exists, but I don't do that for character sheets, and I haven't for years. So I started really right away when I was DMing. I started cutting corners, and with my current campaign I hit a point where I was like, I don't need character sheets for mobs at all. So I've stopped doing character sheets for mobs of any kind. And the closest I really have now is these things that I call my monster attack indexes. And what these are is they're just an array of options I can hit to give me different rolls. So if I want a little attack that does a little bit of damage, or a medium attack, or like a really big attack, I have to hit, and I've got damage. And this one is kind of like my standard spread. I have over here my precise spread, which is, you can kind of see the side-by-side comparison. The worst attack on this one is already +5. So if you want like maybe, you've got some like cord archers, they're accurate, they got like a +7 to hit, but they're not doing a whole lot of damage. You pull up the precise sheet, and then over here I've got my strong sheet, which is more damage, not so much to hit. So, you've got +6, you're doing 2d8 +4. That's a lot for +6. You hit hard, but you don't hit often. So there's 12 attacks on each sheet, 36 attacks total. I think that covers a lot of use cases. You might have a character that, or a monster that has like a +11 to hit, but only does 1d4. That's fine. You can figure that out. But I think that this attack index covers almost everything that I could ever need, from a rat, bat, goblin, crossbow, what have you. Saves me a lot of time and energy. Put that back in other things. And another thing that I'm gonna close these too soon, because I want to talk about what's going on with the size of these too. You probably noticed that I've got 0 through -4 +10 in these stats, and you're thinking that those are some weird saves. These are not meant to be taken literally as like a plus 16 or a 16 in Constitution, what they're meant to be is a D20 plus 3 that you just have an easy click on. You could make macros for this if you wanted to make macros, but I just think it's really straightforward. If someone's like, okay, I shoot back at the Court Archer, I throw a lightning bolt at him. He needs a reflex save. I might decide his reflex is really good, so I go over here and give him like a plus 6. So, oh, he crit his save. That was technically a strength that I rolled, but it doesn't matter. I just needed a plus 6 reflex save. And yeah, that messes up what's going on in the character sheet. If you view this as a character sheet, like the 17 armor class, the 8 armor class, that's nonsense. That's drawing from the character sheet. You don't need to pay any attention to that. But what it's not going to mess up is these attacks I have down here. You might be thinking, well, like let's say I change this, go over to this one, and I change the strength to 30 and the dex to 38. You'll see like a bunch of stuff I'm not using changed, like my initiative and stuff like that. But I'll do it again for you. I'll go back down. None of these attacks over here changed at all. And that's because I've sanitized the inputs so that it's not pulling from strength, it's pulling from nothing, and same for damage, so that it's just things that I've input. And you know, these are more things that you're going to be doing for your your trash mobs. But I've found also is these attack indexes are really handy for when you're actually making a character sheet, like you're making your demon or whatever. So you go in and you start off as an attack index, and then I went in and I put in your bite and your attack, and you can copy one of these over and it can start off as a decent template to build a dragon, and you can put a little bit more work in at that point. But these are meant to be just really quick ways that you can enable yourself to have every monster possibly that you could think of at your fingertips. And the very last one I want to talk about is kind of a work in progress. This is the spell/breath weapon index. I don't know really which direction I want to go with this. It's like, oh, you need a level 4 fireball, roll 96. You need a magic missile, click the 1d4 plus 1. Spells that I use a lot. You don't need, if you need to roll whatever, 15d6 plus 40 because somebody's getting disintegrated, you can type that in. And you don't need one button for disintegrate. Hopefully you're not casting disintegrate so often you need a macro for it. My party's going to come back and see that, and they're going to be terrified, like, what's happening? This one I'm not entirely sure which way I want to go with it. If I want it to just be like a bunch of numbers with no names next to it, or if I want it to have all the spells I commonly use. Right now it's kind of a mix of the two. And you don't need every last thing on here. Like this 8d6, it could be Fireball, it could be Lightning Bolt, it could be that Paladin necrotic spell that they have that does bludgeoning too for some reason. It's just the click 8d6 button. And the reason why I don't have too much plugged into that spell list is because if you forget what like Cone of Cold does, you can just open up, as a virtual game, you're DMing, you can open up a tab that'll say what Cone of Cold does. You can type Cone of Cold in 5e into Google or into D&D Beyond or whatever. And this is all about making less work for you. So you don't, having the button is handy. Having a full spell page where you've put in all your spells and what they do, I'm going to say just open a tab. It's really, whatever works for you is good. But at the end of the day, it can be really difficult in these virtual games to play fast and loose and to improv. If somebody's like, I really want to go to this bank and rob this bank, and I always think of evil things when it comes up with stuff like that. But if they come up with something that's like, you all of a sudden need like a bunch of samurai or whatever, your attack index is going to allow you to do that improv. So hopefully this is helpful. If you have any kind of feedback if you're doing something like this. If you're doing something that is maybe better, or you have ideas to make this better. I love getting discussion going about stuff like this, or any kind of feedback you might have. But if you're not doing something like this and it seems like it'd be useful, I encourage you to try it out. See if you like having an attack index better than making character sheet for every cat, rat, frog, whatever. Hopefully this was helpful. And I'm going to try and bring some more D&D advice to y'all in the future. But yeah, hopefully short, sweet, got something. Hopefully the time you spent watching this video, you're going to save tenfold on your next few sessions. So have a good one. See y'all later.